Today I want to talk about Bill O'Brien getting fired. And yeah, I think Eric Bieniemy should be the Houston Texans' next head coach. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Bill O'Brien finally getting up out the paint. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Bill O'Brien has managed to ruin the Houston Texans. First, he can't draft offensive linemen. Second, he got rid of what I think was their best player in DeAndre Hopkins for parts plus David Johnson. Then you start this season 0-4. Now, schedule has not been kind to the Houston Texans through the first 4 games. You talk about the Chiefs, who just won the Super Bowl. You played the Steelers. You played the Vikings. You've only taken L's. You're 0-4. And Bill O'Brien has been the dude making the personnel decisions and the head coaching decisions. He's one of just a handful of guys that get to do that. But everybody thinks they can do that because Bill Belichick has managed to do it. Problem is, you're not Bill Belichick. And now with Romeo Crennel being what we think is the interim head coach, probably for the remainder of the season, Jets fans are going, please don't let that man end up here. Because it feels like Adam Gase is going to get fired. But Houston Texans managed to beat the Jets to firing their head coach, so now they get first dibs, first crack of whomever they might be able to bring in. Problem with that is you won't be able to fill this vacancy until December at the earliest because everybody's going to try to play this out with their team. But Eric Bieniemy has been the dude that I and others have been loudly stumping for. Not just because he is a black head coach and I would like to see more black head coaches, but that's not qualification alone. Qualification is won a Super Bowl, man. He is the offensive coordinator. He has helped mold Patrick Mahomes into the guy that is basically Michael Jordan in the NFL. Making everybody else better around him. And he can go win you a game when that game is in doubt. Also add to this, all of the proteges that have come out from underneath Andy Reid have been good. Doug Peterson at Philadelphia managed to win a Super Bowl, right? Matt Nagy at Chicago has them going in the right direction. We'll see if this Nick Foles experiment works out. But the more I look around, the more I'm like, Bieniemy looks like that dude, and I can't find anybody that tells differently. I thought that he should have got a better look at Cleveland. He did. They went with Kevin Stefanski, and they're 3-1. Good for them. I also think that being able to take over that franchise, the Texans, at a time when they are not necessarily the worst team in the NFL, but also not the best team in the NFL, is going to be to his benefit. You have Deshaun Watson, and you have the knowledge that he's going to be there for the foreseeable future, and you get to build around him. You can draft around him. You can get dudes both offensively and defensively that want to play football in Houston in the twilight of the J.J. Watt era. Outside of one Eric Bieniemy, look at how it's going for Miami. They're happy with Brian Flores. They're also happy with Chris Greer. It's the only black head coach and GM tandem in the NFL today, right? I think that more people are going to look at them and say, this is how this works. And now you're looking at what Detroit is and what they were, because Jim Caldwell had them going in the right direction, and Matt Patricia is having to justify his being hired even as they suck. They're getting beat down. You look around the rest of the league, and you see dudes, right? Robert Saleh at 49ers ought to get a look, right? Great defensive coordinator for the Niners, and I think that he's going to be in line for a head coaching job sooner rather than later. I look at Greg Roman with the Baltimore Ravens and think, what if they ran a similar offense with Deshaun Watson? This is a guy that turned Tyrod Taylor into a Pro Bowler and saw Lamar Jackson become just the second unanimous MVP in league history behind Tom Brady. And of course, took Colin Kaepernick and the Niners to the Super Bowl, running basically the same sort of offense. And they're so good at running the football that we question them when they start to throw it around because they're that good at it. We would look at other programs or other franchises and say, yeah, man, you guys should throw the football more on first and second down. That's just not who the Baltimore Ravens are. That's not who they were, who the Buffalo Bills were when he was coordinator, and certainly not the Niners because Jim Harbaugh loves to run the football. So much so that he basically had to be browbeaten into modernizing the offense in Michigan and going to hire Josh Gaddis. All to say, Eric Bieniemy knows from offensive football. You know you need to score points, and I think he would be able to bring along with him an outstanding defensive coordinator. Even if that defensive coordinator ends up being Romeo Crennel, just for the sake of continuity. There are going to be other candidates that emerge, right? We know that. Somebody is going to look at Don Martindale, Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator, and say, let that guy do it. Because I also see a trend in the other direction that's going to emerge. We have seen offensive guys get head coaching positions more often than we see defensive guys get head coaching positions. Even as offense is much easier to coach than defense is. For the simple reason that the game, the rules are skewed toward the offense. So rather than go get the next Sean McVay, right? Why not try to go hire the next best up-and-coming defensive coordinator? Or a guy that's been doing it at a high level for a very long time. I don't think that hiring anybody off the Patriots organization is going to work for anybody anymore. I didn't think it was going to work with Josh Daniels. I didn't think it was going to work with Matt Patricia. I think those guys think that because they were with Belichick and because Tom Brady to them does look so pedestrian that they forget that Tom Brady is actually a genius when it comes to pre-snap evaluations. A lot of work that he's able to do in front of you for you. Deshaun Watson is right there in that enigma place of I'm not sure if he's really good. I'm not sure if he's just kind of good. I know that he's not Patrick Mahomes, and nobody is. I know he's not Lamar Jackson, and nobody is. But he could be as good as Josh Allen is, and better, because we saw it at Clemson, right? You just need the right situation, and you need the right play callers at critical positions. You get him an offensive line that gives him time to throw. I think he's going to hold the ball less and throw it deeper more. I also like what they have right now. I know that Randall Cobb is in the twilight of his career, but that was a great pickup, and I thought that he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver this year. You know what you have in Will Fuller. You know what you have in Kenny Stills. I think if Brandon Cooks gets back to being that dude that he was just a couple of years ago, they could be great offensively. It's just getting the right sort of mentality in place to make that work. Bill O'Brien just wasn't that guy. As a matter of fact, when he took this job after doing a stint at Penn State, I was going, I don't know if this is where you want to be, dog. I don't think this is going to work out. Meanwhile, all I've seen is Eric Bieniemy just turn him out. And some of that has to do with Andy Reid, but also the way that people talk about Bill Belichick is the way that they should be talking about Andy Reid. His assistants actually do something. Belichick's assistants don't. It's not Andy Reid or Bill Belichick. It's that whatever Andy Reid is teaching his assistants seems to carry over into their work life once they're separated from the guy who's actually in charge. I think you have to take that into account when you're hiring the next head coach of your franchise. All right, that's it for me. Doses.